I was scrolling through my Instagram feed yesterday and came upon a story of one of my followees. He's currently on a trip in Malaysia and has been posting pictures and tips on his page. It definitely looks like heaven on earth, and I bet a lot of us would love to switch locations with him right now, me included. I happened to read a few of the comments on this particular post, and there was one that just stuck on me. It said, "I wish I could have your life for 3 months." I don't know the person who wrote that, and they might not have meant it to be taken seriously, but it did somewhat touch a nerve with me. Me being a person who grew up thinking the grass was always greener on the other side. A slightly destructive illusion I'm sincerely trying to get rid of, which isn't easy in a world that's being bombarded by social media. Thankfully, I learned to look beyond the surface and understand there is definitely a lot more to the story than is portrayed at first sight. I acknowledge I have placed myself in a victim position in the past, thinking I was so much worse off than a lot of other people and not understanding what I did to deserve that. I looked around me and saw all these good things happening to others, and it only made me feel miserable, jealous, and bitter. Of course, I had no eye for the ones who were struggling just like me. And this was all before the era of content creators and influencers, so nowadays it's really brutal. My children, particularly my youngest, really like this YouTube channel about these siblings who advertise for different toy companies, or vlog about locations where they have play dates. It initiated when they were toddlers and are doing this as a family for almost 10 years now. I guess the parents started it as a fun way to entertain and include their family, or maybe even as a side business, who knows. But anyway, the whole thing blew up and it turned into a bit of an industry. I do understand the entertainment value for my children. I mean, the kids are cute, and the videos of the beginning years also included some valuable lessons. But now it's mainly a display of a household filled with huge and expensive toys, and trips to amusement parks that are coincidentally completely empty during their visits. My children are still very young, so of course I get to hear a lot of comments like, "I want that too," or "I want to go there as well." And I don't want to shield them from everything that goes on in the world, but I do dislike the idea of them thinking that those videos are real life. I know it's also a bit about my own insecurities and guilt because I'm not able to provide them with the same things, but let's skip that part for a minute. Through the internet, we are invited into the life of strangers, get to see how amazing their world is and how mediocre we are in comparison. Unfortunately, what we tend to forget is that those people are very selective and choose what they want to show us. I'm not saying it's all fake, because we literally see them experiencing everything they exhibit, but we shouldn't be that ignorant and forget they are also just human beings. I might be making too much assumptions, but I imagine that every single person on this earth at one point shared the same feelings of sadness, loneliness, heartbreak, insecurity, you name it. And they at least have one person throughout their lives they want to trade places with, even if it's just a 1 second thought. I wonder what it is that turns us into these superficial beings. We fall in love with potential and things that sparkle on the surface, but choose to ignore any hints of ugliness and red flags. And still we end up surprised when reality unveils itself and isn't as glamorous as we thought it was. I must say it's a bit of a sensitive topic for me, because it really saddens me to think I was like this for almost my entire life, and I get scared we will only pass it on to next generations. The comparing, the jealousy, the entitlement we give ourselves to judge other people's actions or mistakes. I feel it's getting worse every day, which only feeds all the hate and bigotry. At the moment, there is this huge scandal that's being smeared in the media. Someone who was everyone's sweetheart just a couple of weeks ago, but is now portrayed as a monster because of personal information that has been leaked. The idol we wanted to be or were in love with now surprisingly happens to be one of those men made of flesh and blood. The sad thing in these situations is that it doesn't even matter anymore if the allegations are true or false. No need for a legal investigation because the public has spoken. The guy is being openly slaughtered by millions of people who have absolutely no idea what really happened. I don't know why the situation is hitting me this hard. It has nothing to do with me personally. But I guess I feel very disappointed and sad that we live in a world where it's okay to convict and ruin someone's life based on some juicy gossip. This is just one big example, but said irony and hypocrisy is present on a daily basis, both on large and smaller scales. We put so much of our energy in the life of others instead of making use of it for ourselves. We prefer noise and personal judgment over truth and justice. It's one thing to preach for world peace and general equality, but another to ridicule the whole idea by continuously exposing the destructive side of human nature. Clearly, I find it a bit hard this week to maintain a positive outlook on the future, but I am genuinely concerned. I'm fighting really hard to find the happiness in myself and in my own life, but sometimes I still struggle too much with facing my lack of control over everything outside of me.